Hello and welcome to another episode of the Socially Numb Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Leahy. It is Thanksgiving week, and that means a short week for everyone who has work. I guess not everyone. Some companies are open on the Thanksgiving holiday, and it also brings about Black Friday. Black Friday shopping for tech, usually pretty good. You can get a lot of deals on televisions and other electronics. But this year, I haven't been impressed. I've looked through a lot of the ads and flyers that they put out for the holiday, and I haven't seen anything that really stands out. And I think with the explosion of internet shopping, I think that's going to be the future for the foreseeable shopping seasons. I don't see a way that they can keep slicing prices and deals on the holiday and keep making money. I know that they used to make a bunch of money just because of the demand of the holiday itself. And they can go ahead and make up that money on the back end because certain electronics companies, if you look, say for TVs as an example, they put out certain numbers, model numbers. And for the Black Friday season, they might cut some costs, make the boards a little smaller, maybe take out one or two USB ports, and make a cheaper model that they sell on Black Friday. So if you look very, very closely at the flyer and what certain stores keep in stock year-round, and that might be the same between one branch store and another. You might say like, oh, these two televisions look very similar. Let's say it's a 46-inch TV, and the number might be like XY 46 7Z, and then they'll have like a string of letters or numbers like 10008X, and then another store will have one that's numbered like 1006Y, and you'll look at them and you'll say, oh, the specs are pretty comparable, but one of them is going to be made with cheaper parts or cheaper components, and that's how they're able to undersell certain units. So you might think, well, this television's the same one that they had or that I looked at a month ago, and now I'm coming in and I'm seeing that it's $200 cheaper. How are they able to do that? It's because of the numbering system, the pricing. So make sure if you've been looking at televisions for a while, because you shouldn't go in and purchase any big electronics item just on a whim, just because you see it in a flyer. Like, oh, that's a 46-inch television. I know so-and-so company always puts out quality products. I'm going to go take a look at it. And then you bring it home, and then it dies after a couple months, or you're disappointed with it because of the quality. And so you always want to do like an A-B comparison. And I know this used to be a running scam. I guess a scam, I don't really want to say that. But they used to put out, when high-definition televisions came out, for the holiday, certain stores would run component cables for the cheaper models to the picture. Like, you know how they have the displays in the store themselves. They might have like a football game on if you go on a Sunday. So all the televisions are lined up. They all have the same game. So you can look at the different brands, different models, and pick out which television you think looks the best. Well, some stores were running cables to some of the models that had lesser quality for the cheaper ones, so they would run component cables, and then the higher priced models, they were running HDMI cables, so you could noticeably see a difference just by looking at the televisions up on the wall mounts. And I mean, that's a shock for anyone. They're like, oh, I guess I should spend that extra $300 to get the more expensive television when it was just a store trick. And I don't know if they still do that today, but I did know that that was a thing. And it was exposed by a couple employees online. That's like one of the things that's really helped these companies whenever they have the marketing scams, is they put them online. A lot of them treat employees poorly. So do a search, a general search, just for like feedback, read reviews, and make sure that you're looking at a comparison of the model that you are going to get. And so some of them, if you look at the flyers, they don't tell you which model television or what they have in stock. And some of them also did. I know they used to do this on Black Friday, and I don't know so much anymore just because the numbers are down. Not as many people go Black Friday shopping anymore. because they're Cyber Monday, the following Monday. So you can hang out at your house and you can get the same deals without ever leaving the comfort of your home on Monday. And I mean, some people work. It's also in the northern states. I know, like in Pennsylvania, it was a traditional hunting day. So they also had that to compete with. People could go out, go hunting. You're sitting in a tree stand or whatever, fire up your phone, do some shopping while you're sitting there in the woods, and just try to find deals that you know will work. But I look through these flyers. I'm not seeing the deals. Make sure you keep your eyes out and go through and make sure that you're doing your research. Do not just go out and see, oh, this is a deal, and I'm going to go ahead and buy it. And then you come back and you find out that you're disappointed later on. So some of the bigger ones that I know, like the malls used to have their own Black Friday deals. You can get one. I'm looking at Amazon now. They have theirs. It's buy 3 Echoes, save $20, because they want to move the bulk product. The more people that they have with these devices in their house, the more advertising they can do and things like that. And so the only way someone's going to ever need 3 of those, I mean, you might have a couple in your house, but you're not going to go ahead and share those. So some of the other bigger items that people buy besides televisions, as I mentioned, are like computers. But even nowadays with computers, there's such a razor thin margin between models that you don't even need the most advanced computer to get what you're going to get out of it. Unless you're using it to game, even watching high definition television or movies on it, you're not going to really stress the system too much with today's processors and motherboards and chips and things like that. You're going to be able to just run just fine. And the only way you're really going to stress your system is if you're playing the latest and greatest video games. Maybe you're streaming at the same time. You have a Twitch account set up. You want to stream the latest video game while you play it. Yeah, that's going to be some intensive stuff. Maybe you're going to be cutting video or anything like that. Something like that might stress your system. But if you're just doing everyday web browsing, there should be no reason why your computer can't handle it. I've had games on my computer, maybe like 5 or 6 of them streaming at the same time, and my computer never breaks a sweat, and it's a few years old. So you can buy an older model and still have the same value. I mean, I went and got the last computer I bought, desktop wise, I got at Walmart for like the cheapest tower. I just made sure that it had like 8 gigabytes of RAM and maybe like a terabyte hard drive. Solid states will speed up your system too. So if you're looking for that, make sure you get a solid state drive if you're going for speed. If you're going for storage, it doesn't really matter because you can go through and get any upgrades later on. You can even do a solid state drive, get a smaller one. And if you get a computer that has 2 bays, you can put another drive in there that you put in and then expand your storage, and then you use that to put all your media in. Most of the things that are going to take up space on your hard drive are things like images, videos, and once you find the file, it's not going to slow your system up. If you have a large video file that might take up space, too much space on a solid state drive, pop it in the second hard drive bay on a regular spinning drive, a mechanical drive, and it doesn't matter because the read rates are going to be fast enough to, once you load that file up to play it, you're not going to have any issues with playback on your machine. Now, for video games, that might be a little bit different depending on how fast your system is and how many games you have stored at a time. If you're doing like, maybe you're playing retro games, you have those stored on your hard drive, then you might not need the extra space. You can go ahead and dump them, or speed. I mean, you can dump them on the mechanical hard drive in the bay, and they'll play just fine. And then you can keep the latest and greatest games on the solid state portion of your computer. And that's if you're going for the hard drive, you're going for the speed. That doesn't matter either way. You might not need it. And the other big item that tech guys usually look at, and girls, is going to be video games. And this year, man, it's such a disappointment. I heard rumblings over the summer that the new Nintendo console was going to be announced in late summer, like August or so. And then they were going to start releasing specs in October. And that got pushed back. And they finally made the announcement in October. And by that time, it was too late to get the console shipped out into production. So that made me pause whenever I'm looking at it. And this is the Nintendo Switch, because all the other consoles are already out in the market. So the Nintendo Switch, I think, was supposed to be a savior model for the Nintendo company as a whole, because they were losing money. They were bleeding out cash. I mean, in the long run, over terms of consoles, because the Wii was such a boom to the company. It elevated everything up. Then the Wii U came in on its heels. They didn't really improve anything. They added the screen on the controller, which is a good idea, because if you have kids, you don't want the television taken up by some kid's game. Disney game, Mario game. I mean, Mario's kind of cool, but you're not going to sit there as an adult and watch a little kid play some game that is going to take up the screen. So you had the option to flip it down to the Wii U console. But some people didn't see, and I didn't see, I don't have one, see the value in going through and adding another $300 purchase just to get that convenience. You already had the Wii, so the Wii U didn't really add much in terms of gameplay. You still had the motion sensor controls, and you didn't really have the same processing power and visuals that you were getting from either the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. So at that point, you probably already made your media device purchase based on that, and you're not going to go ahead and get the Wii U. And actually, they might not even been out. It might have been the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 at the time. But it doesn't even matter, because they were still processing at such better rates that the Wii U couldn't keep up. Then there were no games for it. They rushed out a remade Zelda. And I think that's another issue Nintendo does, is every console that comes out, it seems like they put the next Zelda game as kind of a merger between the two systems. Like they release two versions at the same time. And I think they're doing it again. And the only reason, well, one of the only reasons to buy a Nintendo console for me would be the Zelda games. I played almost all of them. And as growing up, that was like the game. It was puzzle filled. It was a challenge. It made you think. It wasn't just a game that you could run through and beat on timing, because you had to solve puzzles, go back through, explore. It was a long game, sort of like an RPG game if you have never played it. But the original, the 2D top-down view, you ran around, had to solve, I think it was 8 dungeons. So I beat that one. The second one, I think it was Link's Awakening. That was more like a side-scrolling game, and that game was brutal to beat. I played through that with a friend of mine, and it took us forever to beat that last segment, just because of the way the timing was. That's a hard game. And so then, like, Ocarina of Time came out. That's an awesome game, one of the greatest games of all time. They keep remaking it, which, I mean, I can see. It's great. They do it at high def. It's a great game to still bring up and play. Some of the controls are a little outdated if you're into modern gaming. But that was one of the reasons for me, after that point, when Ocarina came out, as a kid, it took me forever to beat because it was challenging. I don't even know how old I was at the time. I remember I'd help my cousins through it, help beat their parts of the game that they were stuck on. And at that point, it was like, hey, I would put down money to buy a Nintendo console just to get the next Zelda game. I think the 64 actually had 2 Zelda games, yeah. Maybe 3. I know it had Majora's Mask, the Wind Waker. That might have been on the GameCube. I don't know. But I played through all of the big console Zelda games and beat them all. Then the handheld ones, they kind of broke off there for a little bit, and I didn't have, maybe it was the Advance or the first DS. I haven't had any DS, so I haven't beat any of those Zelda games. So I have been looking at the flyers for that, because as a console, you don't have many other console options this summer, or this Christmas. I looked through, nothing was released. The summer announcements were not big. So besides a couple of AAA titles, nothing really stood out to me. So it was disappointing whenever Nintendo pushed their console back. And those were just rumors. So I might have been hearing things that weren't going to happen anyway. But I did hear that they were trying to get the box dimensions out to different retailers for the holiday push. Like, hey, we're going to be putting these out, and here you go. This is going to be our bundle options. These are going to be the prices for retail, suggested retail. And it just didn't make it. So that gives me concern over the durability of the console, because they're pitching it sort of as a mobile console. You have a big screen, which scares me because it pops in and out of the console itself. So it's kind of like a holder. And I think that there's going to be some kind of hard drive in there. I mean, maybe it's not going to be that much. They're putting the games on cards again. And you probably could throw a solid state drive in there. I would imagine it would be solid state, because you don't want to carry around the spinning disk hard drive inside a console that's going to cost you probably $200, $300 again. In the Switch, they're going to carry around. So that got pushed back, and I'm worried about that coming out in the spring. And I mean, maybe whenever you get the hands on, whenever it's sent out. But that's a console I wouldn't pre-order, and there's nothing out there right now to push it. So for video games, you're in a wait and see mode. Do you want to get the new Nintendo console? You're going to have to wait for it. The Xbox One, I know that they put out another PlayStation 4 remake. I think they might have a Pro. They might have a Slim. I don't know what else. And I know the Xbox One was trying to put out their HDX. Be careful with the PlayStation 4 version of that. The HDR, I guess. The HDR filter, if you try to use it on some televisions and you bought that PlayStation 4 upgrade, they're not connecting. And PlayStation is pushing back. They're saying that it's up to the television companies to support it, that it's their systems that aren't reading the PlayStation video out. And then the television companies are coming back saying that when Xbox released their HDR version, they had the same problems and Xbox had to release a patch. So basically, they're throwing shade back at each other, saying that it's each other's fault that these aren't having outputs. And again, like I throw a call back to the beginning of the episode where I talked about the different television models. Some of them, I think LG came out and said that some of their models, the PlayStation HDR works, so you're able to play the console, and the HDR might not work on the, but you're at least getting some type of output. But one that's maybe the same exact model, like 1080X and then 1080Y, but with just one slight difference, maybe in inputs and outputs, they're not working. So there's no consistency. So it might work for one of the other televisions in the same line, but if yours is slightly newer or slightly older, it's not working. So be careful in that regard. Try to do some research, especially if it's going to be a Christmas gift. You don't want to get a console that doesn't have a patch in time, which I'd imagine, I guess it's less than less than a month yet, but a month and 5 days away, where they're going to go ahead and you're going to put time and money into getting a new console. You get it hooked up after the holidays, and then it might not work with your television. So do your research and try to figure that out. Another hot button item besides video games that has been coming up, like always, the cameras, camcorders. Do your research on those. Those are hit and miss depending on the brand. You can get into quite a flame war for those. Speakers, audio, visual, video, nothing really big. Blu-ray still out there. You can still have the streaming. Some movies are hit and miss. It's hard to tell where the movie industry is going. So like looking for killer deals on those are hard, because you don't want to go ahead and spend tons of money on Blu-ray discs because they might not be around much longer. I fear that the companies are going to kind of split and give you like a pay-per-view type movie theater deal at home. I know Ultraviolet has some momentum going, and I've always been weary of this in the first place, but I have switched over. Now whenever I buy some movies, I make sure that it has a digital copy, which kind of ruins some of the holiday season, because you don't want to like tell people like, hey, get me this movie, but make sure it has it, because they might not be aware, especially like older family members. They don't know what a digital movie is or download. Some of them, I mean, I guess the internet's been around for a while, but some of the Ultraviolet stuff's pretty new. And Disney has their own version, so there's no like set standard. Like when you could tell them like, hey, get me Blu-ray, not DVD, they would know. They could ask the store clerk. You go in, find a store clerk. Some of them still don't even know. Like I went into, like I asked Walmart once, like, hey, do you have a Voodoo copy of this? They had no idea what I was talking about. And they're the company that makes it. So it's very difficult to get that because it's a consumable media. Hey, you buy a movie once, you expect to have it for life. It hasn't been like that in my lifetime. You bought the VHS, that's obsolete. You bought the DVD, that's obsolete. You bought the Blu-ray. The way things are going, that's probably going to be obsolete as well. So you're buying the same, like if you have a favorite movie, you probably bought it 3 or 4 times already. And now with streaming, hey, maybe that movie that you like is on Netflix because it's so old, especially if it was like on VHS, or maybe it's not, maybe it's locked down, maybe it's on iTunes only. Some studios do that for some reason. So it really boxes you out as a consumer. So I'd be weary of any video deals. Same with audio. Audio's going to streaming. It used to be like, hey, I would have like 3 or 4 CDs or albums on my Christmas list. I had like the whole, like I had vinyl, I had tapes, I lived through that. Then I had CDs, then I had like the download cards. But now it's like, hey, you can stream it online. And it's agreed of both companies, the artists for taking the advances, and then the music companies for like putting out the manufactured crap that you hear on the radio and on television, and even like Vivo. I mean, you go through that and you have the same thing, but same thing over and over, same artists, same recommendations, same songs you always hear. The radio plays the same safe songs all the time. You go to the mall, they play like all 80s rock. It's not even rock. It's manufactured pop. You hear the same few songs over and over again. And it's maddening. But hey, that's what they want. And so now whenever they have new musicians come out or new bands, when you're used to hearing the same stuff over and over, you're not going to pay for it. I mean, you buy it once and that's it. They're losing money because people aren't buying the same albums. Then they blame it on downloads. Like, hey, no one's buying it because they're downloading these new songs. No, because there haven't been quality music put out for decades now. But that's another thing. That's too long to get off into a rant on right now. But another hot button item. I guess it kind of goes with computers, but you have tablets, iPads, and it's kind of interesting to see how those are going to go. Because these are the big ticket items on Black Friday. Besides technology, you're going to get deals on other things like clothes and things like that, but is it really worth it to go wait in line for hours, drive through traffic, fight through people for regular consumables? Probably not. Television items, electronics, things like that might be on sale like once a year. Now you can have them shipped to your house on Cyber Monday. Is it worth it to even go out on Black Friday anymore? No. Looking through ads, I've been comparing ads here all day. I haven't seen anything that really stood out. Television prices have been way down. That used to be the thing you would go out and get deals on. iPads, tablets, it's hard to tell. Like if you're only like browsing the web, a tablet's great. If you do any type of work on the internet, you might need something a little more powerful. If you're going to be typing, writing, anything like that, emailing a lot, you're going to want a keyboard. I don't think the tablets have really reached that threshold yet, where you can switch back and forth between typing and going in and doing the harder, intensive work. Maybe they will in the future. I think some of the connectivity issues and things really struggle there. I mean, you have a Bluetooth, you're on a tablet all day, you have a Bluetooth keyboard, it's on the desk, or a mouse. Someone bumps it, triggers your tablet to go crazy. It drains the battery. I know they have like the low Bluetooth now, so it has improved a good bit. It used to drain the battery hard if you had Bluetooth on. Then you'd have to toggle. I've always had connectivity issues, even at like work with the Mac, and then you have the Mac Mini or the Mac Mouse or whatever it's called, Magic Mouse. I've always had trouble like logging in the first thing. Boot up the computer, sit there, squiggle the mouse to toggle it on and off. It takes a couple minutes just to connect. And if you're on a tablet, you're on the go, you're used to doing things really fast. So if you have a laptop, it's already connected. You have the speeds. You don't have to worry about the extra energy waste from it. So are tablets really worth it? I don't know. You can't use some of the programs, the way the operating system is shut off. It's hard to, it's really hard to install your own software. You can't get rid of their bloatware. Where I guess now on iPads you can with the new iOS 10. I think it was 10. Let you get rid of a lot of the stock apps. Android, same way. A lot of bloatware. You get certain companies that kills the battery. The whole reason is having portability and a battery life and just being able to use it fast. And some of the built-in stuff that they put in there makes it very counterintuitive to what you're trying to do. Like, you need it to be productive if you're going to buy one of those. So I don't know. Get those at your own risk. iPad or e-readers, maybe for books, but I'd imagine most people have one already. And do you really need to update an e-reader just to read books? I know they always upgrade like formats, and you have like a book that you download, you buy a new book, and I find this with kids' books. Usually they have like some new format where, hey, the images are supposed to flow, now the words float on top, it takes up less storage, blah, 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 but you can't read it on your old e-reader, you have to download this one. But if you had a tablet, going back, maybe one tablet at your house wouldn't be too bad. You can install books on that, and that's if you read. You can also put comics on, which are cool. And with the unlimited comic deals, you can go ahead and read like an unlimited amount. But I heard there were some issues with that. I've never had it personally, so I don't know. Do some research on that, but that is an option too. I think Marvel had one, Marvel Unlimited, where you could read as many comics as you wanted. And it was a subscription-based service like Netflix. So whatever comics they had in their vault, you could go ahead and read at any time. All right, so just closing up on the Black Friday stuff. I was going to go ahead and list off some great deals I found, but I did not find any. I went to a couple stores and asked for like flyers, Black Friday flyers. They didn't have them out yet, which is crazy because I'm recording this the Sunday before. So you would think they were starting to advertise certain things. I've looked online and I find the same deals. It's like, hey, get it at Black Friday or get it on Cyber Monday. So it's kind of like the stores have given up on this whole Black Friday idea. I think I saw Walmart, I looked at theirs, and their Black Friday actually starts on Thanksgiving at 6 p.m., which is crazy because, I guess maybe that's some tradition you have, but see, like for me, Thanksgiving, I think a Thanksgiving dinner. You're eating kind of later, watching some football. You might have a lunch or so. Maybe you go home, eat lunch, eat some turkey for dinner then too. But then they go shopping at 6. I know it seems kind of crazy and manufactured. And I think a lot of malls are like going out of business. They're trying to like downsize because they expanded way too fast. And then they got hit with like this minor depression we had in the United States. And now everyone with the internet, you're shopping at home. You can get stuff delivered to your house the next day. So like you order at night. Amazon has like 1 hour shipping. So if there was something that I saw that I wanted, I could go ahead and get it on like, I think it's called Amazon 1 hour. It's some type of Prime thing, but they'll deliver it right to your house, and they have it in where I live in Raleigh. So it's pretty cool. They bring it right to your house. So you don't even have to leave. If you're thinking about like, hey, it'd be cool if I had this, or hey, I need a pack of batteries or something. I'll order it real quick, go shower, come downstairs, boom, there it is. Like I wake up in the morning, I don't even have to leave the house anymore. So I think Black Friday, I think the craze is over. I've looked through and I just don't see anything worth getting. Video games, going back to that. I was looking at finally, and I brought up Zelda, but finally possibly getting a DS, 3DS. I saw Nintendo has a 2DS, but I'm not a fan of the 3D television. I think I've mentioned it on here before. You have the 3D, it kind of makes me sick. You're staring at 3D vision through like a screen for long periods of time. It's just frustrating. It's not worth it. Like your eyes have trouble tracking and focusing because of like the way the pixels stack. It's because it's a fake 3D. It's not real 3D. So I've always steered away from the handheld console. I know they've made really great improvements on it, and I've looked at it, and just to have that portability that's a great thing to have. And I had an old PSP. I'm going through playing some of my old games. I'm going to be throwing up reviews. I guess they're not really reviews, but my thoughts, just things that I'm doing on the Socially Numb site. I've been playing through Dynasty Warriors. That's another series where I've beaten every Dynasty Warriors game. I even had my mom, back in the day, when Dynasty Warriors 2 came out, I found out there was an original on the PlayStation, so I had her order it from China. And this was back in I'm pretty sure it was in the 90s. If not, it was early 2000s. But I think the first game was released in the 90s. So when you're ordering from China back in that day, this was before internet stores. So it's a risk to get the money order, put it online. You're like, hey, everyone was afraid. Oh, I put this online. Will the game ever come? I mean, you order from China, it takes 8 weeks. But I did get that game. It was a fighting game. It wasn't even anything like Dynasty Warriors 2, like I thought I would get whenever you ordered it. But it worked. Played through, beat that one. I actually had the ROM working with an emulator for a while. I don't think I have that up and running anymore. That was on one of my older computers. But I beat every one of those games except actually up until 7. And that's only the main series. I know they have spin-offs like Empires and Samurai Warriors or whatever. But I just kept the same story. I liked it based off Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I haven't read through all that. I do try to read through a little bit each time just to see how the stories go. And so I started playing through Dynasty Warriors 7. I own it. I even own 8 as I wait for 9 to come out. So I own the latest 2. I've just never played through and beat them. So I started to do that. And I also have Dynasty Warriors 1 and 2 for the PSP. I believe those are the only real handheld ones. So as I beat those are the last handheld games that I haven't beat. Because I got to a point, maybe a decade ago when I was in college, we didn't have much money that, hey, if I'm going to buy a game, I'm probably going to beat it before I buy another one. And that's why I'm at the point where if I'm not going to go out and buy the newest Call of Duty, play for a few months, and then go buy the next greatest game, or have everyone who just migrates between AAA titles, boom, 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 oh, we're playing this now. I don't fall for that craze. So I find games that I like, and if I play a game in a series that underwhelms me, what was the one Call of Duty I played? It might have been, it wasn't Black Ops, because I thought Black Ops was pretty good. It was the one maybe after that. Ghost? I don't know. But one of them was so short, and I went and got it the first day, and that was the last one I bought. Because I was like, I can't believe that I went out on opening day for this, and I already beat it. And so it's just mind-blowing. Plus, it was on rails. You couldn't do anything wrong, and if you died, you just were right in the same exact spot. So it didn't take long at all to beat, and it wasn't worth it for me. At that point, I realized, hey, this publisher is putting out the same exact game every year. There's no difference, so I quit buying it. And then that's kind of where I'm at with, Assassin's Creed. I have all of them right now just because people bought me. I had people buy me for the last holiday, just to get me caught up in the series. I played through the Chronicles too. That's the only part of the Assassin's Creed stories that I've played through all the games. But I like games like that where they have a story, something that you can play without having to be focused on 100%. So Dynasty Warriors is like that. I picked those up and I realized hey, my handheld, I'm almost out of games to play. Once I beat these, you're not going to go buy another PSP game. I had emulators on it, but I beat through all the NES games that I wanted to beat. Same with Super Nintendo. And now I'm going to go through. And I was looking, and I realized that I was behind quite a bit on Zelda. And most of the Zelda games that I didn't play were on the DS. I believe there might be 4 of them. The original DS had 2, I think. Then the DSi, I think, had 2. And I need to go back through and look because there might be one on the Advance that I missed. I have to look at videos to see, and the boxes to see which ones I actually beat, which ones I didn't. So I might be writing a long story on that. So with that, and the game, using a phone for handheld games, I played Pokemon Go for a while. I still check in on that. They're supposed to release updates with new Pokemon on there. And on the DS, they just released a new Pokemon game. So if I get the DS for Christmas, that gives some other options for games to play. I don't know if I can stream it on Twitch. If not, I'll just write about it. I'm not going to worry about it too much. They're supposed to be cheaper. I wouldn't get the 2DS, whatever it's called. And I can't even say it because I like the idea of the folding screen. It kind of protects the screen. Whenever you have a tablet-sized thing like that, you throw it in a bag. It's not really that portable at that point anymore. So I'm very surprised. I actually probably would have got the 2DS if it was foldable and had the same design. Because the 3D, it bothered me when I watched movies in it. I know that the new 3DS, I have played one, and it does look much better. It didn't make me sick when I played it for a while. So, I mean, that's always an option. And if they keep improving the technology, hey, the handheld device is where it could really go, because you can adjust it holding it in and out, different angles. When at a television, you have to stare directly at it. Unless you're going to physically move your seat to get a better angle or a better view, it's not going to happen. The handheld gives you that freedom where you can adjust it, pull it in, push it around. And I do have a daughter, so the DS gives kid games. There are a lot of different options for that, which is the main reason why I was looking at it in the first place. Something for her to play, because the PSP, for her to play on that, there's a lot of adult games, but not any games for kids. Even the emulator, it's all old games. I could find old kid games, but they're not anything that's going to be enriching to her. And I've tried to get her to use a tablet, but she's too young, and she's always holding the screen. But she could play the PSP. She could hold it and press the buttons and know that she's supposed to move the guy with the analog stick on it or the D-pad and press the buttons to jump. Where on the tablet, it's hard for little kids to hold, and there's no room to actually grab around the screen. Either for like the iPad she can't hold. I have an Android transformer. She can't hold a phone. It's hard for her. So I thought, a DS might be great. It might be a good time to go ahead and get one. A new Pokemon game come out. I could play that. Maybe get caught up on some Zelda. I don't know how their virtual console works. I know I've talked about them making a store that's cross-compatible to help their sales and their company bottom line, if they would go ahead and merge that with some type of mobile virtual console store so that you could buy it and download it on operating systems. So like, hey, instead of people just downloading ROMs, why don't you just make a virtual console box that you can download on Mac, on PC, on your phone, and then it comes on all of their future consoles. So if I buy a 3DS or even a 2DS, I can go ahead and download whatever games I want. Even give me the option of putting them on an SD card, some kind of cartridge, so that the games are right there. I can play them at any time and anywhere I go. So I did look at that. It looks like they're going to have a Black Friday deal for like $100 for one of them. And I do the super savings things for Walmart, where if you go get your groceries there, they give you money back if there's an ad somewhere that like price matches automatically. So I have money for that. So I thought that might be the best deal. But again, Black Friday, they open at 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving. And I live close enough to a Walmart that I can just go if I need to run out and get one. But I don't know how Nintendo is going to do these limited cheap 3DS sales, because there's no point for me in buying a $200 handheld video game system. It doesn't make sense. For kids to use, no way. It's not worth it. For myself to use, maybe. I mean, but as an adult, I don't sit there and play handheld games. I mean, you're going to be on your phone. Maybe you can go ahead and browse the internet on it, but then again, just play on your phone. The Mortal Kombat game, or like the Injustice games on mobile, those are pretty good. I played the Mortal Kombat one for a good while, and I think it gave me like costumes and unlocked other characters for me in the real game. Mortal Kombat X or XL, I think it's the same game. So you could play those back and forth and get some cross compatibility. And I don't know if the 3DS gives that option. Nintendo doesn't have like the ecosystem yet to encourage like their fans or their consumers to keep buying their products. And it really hurts them. Like no cross buy. I heard people who were downloading Pokemon are getting their devices blocked, but they should really block the account. I know like anyone can go ahead and pick up a new account, but that would really deter them. Let's say Nintendo has this virtual store where everything's tied to your email address, your ID you pick, and you have all these purchases. Because the hardcore people who are buying these games are going to be probably the ones, like if they're downloading pirated games, maybe they don't have whatever. So brick the device, whatever they're going to do. I think that's what they were doing. And it was an automatic ban for life. But what's to stop them from going to buy a new one, putting the brick device in the box and taking it back to the store? So then someone goes back and buys one that was restocked without knowing, brings it home, and then it's bricked. And they don't know why. And they might not even notice it because you don't connect to the internet right away. So like, let's say it's a gift. You wait for a month or two. You give it to like your kid. You're like, hey, you're not going on the internet, so blah, 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 I'm going to block that. Then a few months later, you go ahead and get on the internet and it says like, hey, blah, blah, you're blocked for illegally playing a game which you never owned. And then they're not unbanning it. It doesn't make sense. At least those are the rumors I saw online. It's hard to tell. I've seen screenshots, but those can be doctored. But okay, if you're going to illegally download that game and you're going to install it on your device, I think most devices, and I don't know because I don't own a 3DS, but I think most of them, you log in like on a PlayStation, it has to be tied to some account. So like if I'm going to go ahead and play it, I'm not going to switch accounts most likely. I mean, I guess you could switch back and forth between accounts. They might be able to watch it. Like, hey, if the same account's using the same device, and I know that this one account uses the same device as so-and-so, they have no purchases, and they're playing illegal games, like, they could make that leap that, hey, it's that person who also uses the device. We could ban both of them. I know it would hurt friends, but then maybe friends would peer pressure them into not using illegally downloaded ROMs. Like, hey, don't put anything illegal on this. I don't want my account locked if I'm going to be sharing a console with you. I mean, there's different ways to battle it. But that's something I looked into. I know Nintendo is notorious for shorting out supply. They only purchase a limited run. And then they're like, hey, that will increase demand. Maybe people will hype it up. And all that does actually is just boom the secondhand market. I think they do it with their amiibo characters. They have short runs and then immediately people buy them and then resale them, which that's a pretty cool idea. I didn't realize that Disney Infinity was being discontinued because that was one deal that I saw. If you have kids, it's a cool little like open world game. I think it's kind of like Minecraft for like that specific environment. So like Disney shows the Disney ones. So that is what that one's for. And if you buy Skylanders, it's for those characters. It's a buildable world just for those characters. And then the third big one, I think, is Nintendo's Amiibo, which is the Nintendo characters. I don't think that the boards that you get for each system are cross-compatible, but I believe the characters and the environment cards are. So if you buy them, and it's a good idea, and it's great because, hey, it gives me some peace of mind. If Nintendo is going to go ahead and stop putting out consoles, if I'm not going to invest in Nintendo games anymore, maybe I'll invest in Skylanders. I think it's Skylanders. Could be Skylander. I don't know. I don't want to sound like an idiot making it plural if it's not. But I go ahead and I invest in these, and I can use those characters on any video game system. I know the Disney ones are. So, hey, I went out, I saw Walmart started putting all the Disney ones on clearance. So we were able to get the 2 kit. I think there's 3 versions, version 1, version 2, version 3. Version 2 kit's out for $5, which is a pretty great deal because it's a pretty big game with different operating environments. You can get upgradable pieces for like $5. And I want to say the game was $80 when it came out. It's a pretty expensive game, but for kids it's great because there are different missions. You can pick up the mission cards on clearance, and at least with the Disney ones, any higher level is compatible with the older models. So we picked up the 2 for $5. You can find 1 characters cheap on clearance for like $1 or $2. I think I saw a bunch of them for $3 there too. you pick some of those up, and those are like extra games inside the game. So like, for example, we'll use the Disney ones. I think version 3 is Star Wars. So if you go ahead and get the Star Wars kit, you can get that Star Wars character to play with in the game. So I don't know, who would it be? Obi-Wan Kenobi maybe, or Luke Skywalker, whoever the character is. You get a little action figure you put on this placemat. It reads it through a chip reader inside the mat, and then your PlayStation 4 picks it up, and in my case with the PlayStation 4, it picks it up and it knows that that's the character you're being. So then you go ahead and you can, if you die in the game, it will say like, hey, your character's out of life. You can either quit this level and try again, or you can swap out the character. So you physically go over to your board, pick up your action figure, and put a new one down. And so like a starter kit comes with 2 characters and 2 different games. So like the 2 Disney one that we got was Brave. She's like a Scottish princess, I guess. And then Lilo and Stitch, maybe. It's like a little green monster guy. So then they have their own environment cards, and then their card is kind of like going through, and there's some type of action level to do. And then you can also get, so like I watched through the training tutorial for the 2 game as my family played through it, and there was an Aladdin, which was kind of similar to Prince of Persia, it looked like. So if you got the Aladdin add-on, which I think are only a couple bucks to get the add-ons, then it would give you levels that were sort of like Prince of Persia, where it looked like you were chasing a little glowing orb. And I haven't played it too much myself, but for a few bucks for a kid's game, it seemed pretty great. And I know Disney said that they're not going to support or make their own anymore, but they're going to support it. And so maybe they will be adding more characters in the future. I know they said they were looking into licensing deals. So that's cool. If you're going to find these for pretty cheap, if they're going to go ahead and license them out, you might be able to use the characters again in the future. And the best way, or the best thing you can hope for, is like Skylander picks them up. Skylanders, I still don't know. I guess I should look that up. But if they go ahead and invest, then you can pop your Disney characters in, and it would be a pretty great thing. So you'd have all these extra characters for their environment too. And plus, is the Disney game's not going to stop working. I don't think there's like an internet component to it from what I saw. So if you're looking for something cheap for the kids, look for those, because they apparently canceled their production. And now Walmart's trying to get rid of all of them with great clearance. So like I said, you get a full game for $5, 2 level kits. I don't know how long it takes to beat each level, but for kids, that's a great game to pick up. So that is the deal that I found. Not really a Black Friday deal. It's a video game related though. So if you're going on out there and trying to find things for kids, that's a great one. If you're looking for stuff yourself, good luck. Not too much out there. I did look for drones because I've been wanting a camera drone for a while, and it's just tough. Like, I don't want to put down the $1,000 or so to get a good one, but I don't want to spend a couple $100 on one that has shaky video, because what I would use it for would be like, hey, we're going to go somewhere. Maybe I can get some aerial video footage that I can cut up just to kind of remember the event. I think taking video of like smaller towns is kind of cool. So you can do like, hey, we go camping. If you go camping with the family and you want to remember like a vacation, just getting like a little aerial footage of the campground would be cool. Or like you're outside doing some fishing, like, hey, let me fly up and take some video footage of this so I remember it. I think that's a cool thing to do. It's kind of tougher than just like taking camera photos or video of the ground level. It gives that extra perspective. So if you're doing like a family video, I think it would be cool to have. Maybe even like, hey, some type of family ritual thing, wedding, some church event, maybe like a first communion or something. You just, to remember the event, have an aerial footage of the church for the wedding. You're outside maybe at a winery, aerial footage of that. That would be pretty cool. But there's a thin line between them, and that's another thing where you have to look at the models. So I went ahead and I was doing all this research. I go ahead, find like, oh, this is the one that the deal's on. Let's look at a video on YouTube. Choppy video. Very disappointing. Or it doesn't have much range. I even thought about building my own, because I thought for my daughter, I'm going to get probably some Raspberry Pi parts and have her put together her first computer. I think that would be cool to do, and that would teach her a life skill, and she would have a sense of ownership for a computer. She doesn't need much more processing power than that as she grows up. Typing, browsing the internet, playing kids games that I can install, all very cool stuff. So that's the other thing I looked at. Probably not too many Black Friday deals out for Raspberry Pi parts, but it is going to be cool enough where you can go ahead and see, like, hey, you want your own computer, these are the parts, see how it works, figure it out, put it together. If you break it, I'll help you. I'll show you how to get the operating system installed. Give a sense of ownership. That's the idea. Same thing with like the mobile action figure video game components, whatever they're called. I don't know if they have a name, but like the Disney Infinity, the Nintendo Amiibo, or the Skylander. Like, that's a cool idea, I believe. I think that could be the future. You have little cards. Whenever they're locked to specific companies or systems, though, that worries me. That's what happens with the Nintendo Amiibo. If Nintendo's struggling, what are they going to put those on? Are they going to be apps for the phone? Maybe. That'd be cool. But if you're going to go ahead and start to throw down money for them, you're going to want something that you know, like, hey, that company, they're going to help me out. And right now, Nintendo, they're baffling to me. So we'll see. If I could go to 3DS this week, that would probably be something that I pick up. Not too much else going on. I wish there was more deals. Couldn't find any. For music, Metallica put out their new album first in like 8 years, I want to say. Pretty good. Some of the songs are really cool. Like Spit Out the Bone, one of their best songs they've done in a long time. I enjoy listening to that one. Some of the stuff that they pre-released as singles was also pretty good. Some of the album, though, kind of dragged. Pretty laid back. They did release videos with it that were cool, so I liked that idea. I went out first day it was released, or the day before it was released. They started to release these videos every hour or so, and so I was watching kind of like a release party. And then on Friday they actually streamed on YouTube their live concert, which was cool, and I thought that was a great idea, because then, hey, here's a live stream of our concert, of us playing to promote the new album. So very forward thinking. I don't know if any other bands have done that before, but they had a video for each of their songs they released with the album. 500,000 views at least on the videos. They leaked them out to fan club members. I'm not a fan club member, but they leaked them out a little bit before to kind of build hype, get some comments on each video. Great idea. I know they'll get kickback from like money made on the videos. I believe there were ads on them. I don't know. But it was a good business strategy, something that was pretty innovative for what I've seen from the music industry, where it seems to be like, hey, we're just going to throw out an album on Spotify. Hopefully people listen to it. A handful of people might buy it, and then we'll tour on it. Metallica went all digital, said, hey, we're going to invest in these videos, put them out there, we can make money off them, and then we're going to go ahead and do a live concert, live stream, put that out there. I think what they do with their live streams, and I could be wrong, but I believe they put them out there for a few days in public, and then they go into a vault. At least that's what they used to do with their MP3 files. Then if you join the fan club, which is a subscription that I don't know how much it is per year, but then you have access to watch any of these old shows, listen to the shows, listen to like some demos and things. Some of them are on YouTube, other people upload them. It's tough to watch all their copyright stuff though. But pretty cool idea. I did like that. So that was the other thing that I did last week. So pretty cool. Check that out. Hardwired to Self-Destruct. I'm going to go ahead, break down the videos, put that up on the website too this week. So that's a good idea. I think what they did, putting all the videos up to help promote the album. Some of the videos were cool. Others were duds. I'll break it all down, throw some links up. I made a playlist. I'll probably tweet that, put that on social media if you want to watch them in the order that they appear on the album. And then the deluxe edition also had some other singles that they've released on, like tribute albums and some live tracks. So that was cool. And that's pretty much it. Pretty long episode talking about Black Friday stuff. Hopefully, if you find any deals, let me know. Good luck out there for the holiday season. I'll probably be getting a 3DS, so we'll see how that goes. I checked out the Disney Infinity stuff. Picked up that on sale. Keep an eye out for those if you're into this, if you have any kids. Cool thing to look out for. Sports-wise, Michigan plays Ohio State. The game for the Big Ten East championship. If Michigan wins, they go. If not, Ohio State blew their chance, so I think Penn State will go if Ohio State wins, unless Penn State loses to Michigan State, which could happen because Michigan State has been playing above what their record says they are. I think a 3-win team. So they're already out of their bowl game. This would pretty much be their last bowl game feel for the team this year. Like, hey, let's go out on a high note. Maybe they'll beat Penn State. I don't know. But it'll be a great game. Also in the Pac-12, 2 great games to decide their champions. Washington and Washington State, they're out there for the North, and USC and Colorado for the South. So 2 great games that will decide their champion. So a lot of good football. Thanksgiving coming up. Eat food. Spend time with your family. Have a good time. And I'll see you next week. You've been listening to Socially Numb with Richie Leahy.